morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to Gooner Gathering. This is, of course, the first video we've done since the clocks have gone back an hour, but as an Ebbsfleet fan, I want the clocks to go back to 2017. My name is Posh Bertie, the poshest man in all of sports entertainment, and joining me is Gooner Lee Meads, who is moving at very, very few frames per second. Oh no, he's back. How are you? You're on mute, my friend. I'll have to unmute you. I can't. Hang on. I've unmuted you. I've unmuted you.
I can still hear the music in my ears.
Shouldn't be like that.
I know something's going very wrong here. Right, I think I can hear you now, and I can see you now. That's good. How are you?
Oh yes, I'm very good. If you didn't hear me at first, I made a little joke about Ebbsfleet, saying how I want the clocks to go back to 2017.
Excellent. It's a good start.
Yeah, you're not very. I hear you're not very well.
Exactly. I've not been very well since probably the end of last week. Hence, we didn't do chat along on Sunday. Literally, I've just come out from my sick bed, so this is interesting.
Yes, well, nothing like a good old-fashioned Gooner Gathering video that'll instantly make you feel better. I just know it. We've got a couple of people in the chat. We got Gunner's Goat saying next up is Preston. Yes, that is on Wednesday. Good to see you. And AFC always, as always, in the chat saying good evening, guys. Good evening, sir.
Good to see you, mate. Great. Hello.
Absolutely. So, of course, believe it or not, we're here to talk about Arsenal's game against Liverpool, in which we drew 2-2. It was another Desmond. So, of course, going into the game, we had a lack of options. Good evening to you too, Gunner's Goat. We had a lack of options in the team, in particular in the defensive positions, with Saliba being suspended. There was questions on whether Timber would be available, which it turns out he was for most of the game anyway. Calafiori was missing, and there was a chance that if Ben White was missing as well, the back four could have been Partey, Gabriel, Kivior and Zinchenko. Thankfully, that isn't the case. We had Ben White and Timber both fit to start, and our back four was Partey, White, Gabriel and Timber. Now, what did you make of the lineup when the lineup first came out? Because we'll get to the incredible Thomas Partey performance in a minute, but when you saw Partey at right back against Liverpool, and when you saw the lineup overall, what did you make of it?
Firstly, I saw the lineup, and we already knew our options were a little bit limited. Even Arteta said himself the week before, especially on the right-hand side, it's a little bit limited on what we can use. I think it was probably the best use of what we had available, honestly, because Partey has actually been, I think he's played every single game, surprisingly, especially the amount of he missed last season. He's actually been one that's been playing not all the time at right back, thankfully. But I think he was probably action as well, because one way or another, you were going to have a pop at whatever they were going to do. And what I mean, quite obviously, is that our other option probably would have been either Zinchenko or Lewis Skelly playing at left back. And that obviously, you're sort of pointing in I don't want to call it a weakness, but maybe a point that you might be wanting to target, because it's not the strongest defensive players, perhaps.
So with the news that Timber was going to be fit to start, and the fact that he could play at centre back, I possibly would have done White, Timber, Gabriel, Kivior, or Timber, White, Gabriel, Kivior. That's what
You're shifting Gabriel to fullback.
No, I'd probably play him at
Sorry,
centre back.
explain. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, we Kivior's one that has literally played cameos, and for me, seems like a player that needs games to get some sort of consistency. I think that would have been even more of a risk than what we went with, to be honest with you. That's just my feeling. And the other thing we will bring up, of course, is the second Mikel playing in the centre midfield, and Marino. I thought actually had a pretty good game. He showed a bit of strength. I was desperately worried. There's an incident in the game where he went down on his shoulder. That, of course, we might have thought, oh, that's the injury that he got, like in the first training session. I thought he showed some guts getting up and carrying on. He actually had a pretty decent performance. We lined up, of course, with Trossard in that Odegaard position. Saka coming back. What a bonus that was. He started like a house on fire.
Did we feel it?
Yeah. Martinelli, of course, on the left, and Havertz as forward. We'll probably get to him in a bit.
Yeah, let's go through the chat. Speaking of, we were talking about Kivior. Gunner's Goat says, I think Kivior could be a January exit. Depends if our defence is fully fit by January, which I expect it should be. Potentially. We'll have to wait and see. I never forget.
He could have been gone in the summer. He could have been gone in the summer, really. But yeah.
Gunner's Goat says, I'll never forget Partey's rocket against Tottenham. That was 2 seasons ago. Could have done one at the reverse fixture, but I think he hit the bar. That was our goodness gracious Great Balls of Fire TikTok. AFC Always is listing off our upcoming fixtures, saying Preston, then Newcastle. Then
Chelsea, certainly was. So we did that live.
Oh, I think there's a bit of a huge delay.
That's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, there's a delay. One where from when I'm speaking and when Lee is speaking, I think.
Yeah, probably. It's like you're in a different country or something.
I could be. You never know. I wish. Gunner's Goat says, we will batter Chelsea. I admire your optimism. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think, honestly, we'll be lucky to get a scrappy win, in my view.
It depends who's, we'll talk about playing styles as well. It'll be interesting. I watched Chelsea yesterday, and they, I don't think they were at their best, but they managed to get a decent result. Was it yesterday? I don't even remember what day it was. I think it was. Yeah. Where am I? But we'll worry about Chelsea.
Yeah.
After
in 2 weeks,
after Preston and Newcastle again. We often talk about wanting trophies and stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see. We'll get into it probably in a bit. Whatever's Arteta's going to pick on Wednesday, because who's he going to have left?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know we'll go into this in a minute, but I don't know the status of Gabriel and Timber's potential injuries. But I hope they're just knocks and nothing more. We'll
probably know more tomorrow.
Possibly, yeah. I know for sure they are not going to play against Preston. I can tell you that for a fact. Let's go and talk about the first goal that was scored, and it was started by Ben White, the centre-back for today. Beautiful ball forward to Saka. He was against Kelleher in the Liverpool goal, because obviously Alisson was injured.
Yeah.
Booted it in the back of the net, 1-0 early on in the game as well. I believe in, what was it, around the 7th minute mark? No, 9 minutes. Pardon. What did you make of it? It's great to have Saka back, and it was a great goal, don't you think?
Great goal from the young lad. I believe he's hit the 50 goal mark now for Arsenal. So that's a great effort from him. As Gunner's Goat says there, Saka Robinson on toast. He absolutely skinned them, to be fair. Absolutely. And a lovely finish on. We all know what Saka's going to do when he gets it on one foot. He'll get it onto his left, and he'll absolutely bury it. And what a start for the captain of the day as well. 1-0. Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't hold on to it really, but never
mind. Good to see Ross Morgan in the chat. I've seen your comment there. We will get to that in a minute. So yes, yes, it is the Ballon d'Or today. I know there's some drama around it now, but I don't really want to get involved in all that. AFC always.
I must be a bit behind here, sir. I don't know.
The award was going to get given to Vinicius Jr., and now at the very last minute, it's not, and now Rodri's winning it instead. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
And now Real Madrid are just boycotting the event. AFC always says Saka sent Robertson to the shops. Yes, as I said, they sent him back to Hull City. Yeah, he very good from Saka, and it's just great to have him back.
It certainly is. Where do we want to go from here? Because it's probably a bit of an incident we need to talk about with Van Dijk, isn't there?
Was this the equaliser?
No, beforehand, where he got him. How, and this is possibly what Russ is kind of talking about a little bit here as well, where he had a bit of
I had the assumption he was talking about the Havertz incident, where a goal
for the goal at the end.
Yeah.
I'm not so much. I'm not so much on that, but the incident where was it Saka who got taken down and it potentially was, after what was argued as a goal-scoring opportunity, perhaps a bit of a moment in the game. It was after Saka scored. If you've forgotten it, it is what it is.
It wasn't in my notes, and yes, okay. I've made notes for this as I'm actually being professional for once. But speaking,
not that his social media account would say anything about that.
Oh no, absolutely not. And I stand by what I say on social media. Speaking of Van Dijk, it went from 1-0 to 1-1. It was a corner to Liverpool, and even though I have said that overall Thomas Partey was very good in the game, even in the right back position, I'll admit, and I think a lot of fans will admit as well, he probably should have done better with marking Van Dijk. And I think our defence overall was caught napping when the equaliser happened. Van Dijk had a bit more space than I could imagine to head it away, and it's 1-1. What did you make of the goal from the corner then? Do you think the problem was with the defence or something else? Or what were your thoughts, sir?
My thoughts were Van Dijk was very, very clever. If it was one of our goals, we would have been celebrated. It's very similar to some of our set plays where Van Dijk was extremely strong and clever in his movement and how he uses his strength. I don't really have too many complaints on it. It's one of them where you get a decent delivery in the penalty area. The flick was on, and maybe our defence could have done better with it, perhaps. But I will always credit an attacker for scoring a goal here, and set plays. It's unusual for us to concede set plays, but this is 2-2, and very different sorts of goals. The little bit of defending just prior, by the way, just talking about Partey, because he cleared a play up which led to that corner. I thought it needed to be said, but then you have a point. You have a point about and I don't think it's a case of because of Van Dijk's positioning and strength that he ended up with Thomas Partey. I wouldn't imagine that would have been the physical matchup that they would have wanted to do, to be honest with you. I think it was just a case of the movement and what happened during that corner that led to Party being on him at that time. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts, mate.
Yeah, my dad has just texted me this. He is watching us on the big boy TV in the living room. Look at
We've
that.
made it big time.
There we are. Look, Ma, we're on the telly. AFC always says we are conceding goals too easily, which is a concern. It is.
Probably for a few reasons. I mean, bear in mind a bit of a makeshift back line as well. Let's say Liverpool quite strong in what they do as well, set plays and stuff as well. Again, let's just say it's a bonus that Saliba only got a one match back, by the way, for the results of the rules and stuff. He will be back. Golly, will we need him back? Here's a question. Does he play on Wednesday?
I mean, with Gabriel out and Timber potentially out, it could potentially, but I don't know. I might go along with that, but we'll get to the cups soon.
Yeah.
Gunners Goat, we keep not being able to hold on to 2-1 leads and conceding late goals. Yes, we'll get to the other equaliser soon. We'll talk about, so in the game, Mikel Merino, as you mentioned, looked like he picked up a shoulder injury, but he turned out to be fine in the end. And that was good because he ended up scoring the second goal. It's worth noting, overall in the first half, I thought we were brilliant. I genuinely, I was taken aback almost because I thought it was going to be a much more closer game and a much more difficult first half than I imagined. And I think that Liverpool were not as, in the first half anyway, equaliser aside, I don't think Liverpool were as dangerous or as threatening as I thought they were going to be. But that was the first half. And I think there could have been some cases where we may have been ahead in the first half by 2 goals rather than 1. In my
Marino
view,
could have scored before he actually did.
Yeah.
There was a great chance, wasn't there? And he put it wide. But he scored a lovely goal, and I think it was just before half time as well. It was a free kick, wasn't it, from Declan? Put it in. I thought Marino did exceptionally well. Put it in there. Let's talk a little bit about the world's longest VAR check, shall we?
Yeah. First of all, the chat is very lively today. Gunners Go. He commends you for drinking some Lucozade. He says, "Love me some Lucozade." Excellent.
Orange flavour.
Oh yes. Mikel Merino to his first goal for us. Absolutely. And AFC always says, "Why did Havertz stay on the pitch for 90 minutes? He was terrible." I think we'll get to the subs that were made when we get to the second half. But I also agree that he probably should have been taken off because I don't think he was that good at all in this game. So Merino before. Oh.
He probably didn't have the best game of it.
Okay. Yes, you're right about Havertz there. I think there's a bit of has he froze? Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, that's a huge delay. That is. So I before Merino scored, I saw, and this is coming from me, so this is a concern when it comes to people on social media. They were immediately calling him a flop and that he isn't that good, really. One, he's only had a few games, and two, this is a bit rich considering these are the same people that said we had a 7 out of 10 transfer window, and now you're calling Marino a flop.
It's harsh.
But
It's very
Marino
harsh.
Marino rectified that, and he scored a goal to make it 2-1 via a set piece. Normal service resumes. But it took a long while, didn't it?
At least about as long as the delay on our stream.
Yeah, if not longer, which is saying something. It was the right
Is
decision.
it that bad?
It was the right decision for VAR to give the goal. But I'm just a bit. I don't know why they took it so long. That's the one thing I'm going to moan about when it comes to refereeing in this game. It took so long to give what I thought was the right decision to give the goal. But yeah, good set piece, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. Nice ball in. We're used to seeing good balls in from Declan Rice. You're absolutely right. Do you know what it was? They were trying to find every single reason why we should disallow this goal, because it was so tight, and because obviously there's an agenda against Arsenal.
Yes, I mean those are your words. Those were my words once, but I saw sense and drifted away from that kind of.
They had their set squares out and everything. They were trying to draw all these imaginary lines and everything, and unfortunately, they just run out of time. They realised that the check was at least 3.5 minutes, I think, and I'm like, what is going on here? This is actually ridiculous. Yeah, this last bit I'm being serious about.
Yeah,
It was absolutely ridiculous, and how long it was taken. And yeah, it's hilarious that they put on the PGML they have they explain all the VAR over on X, don't they? Oh, they found that he was not in an offside position. Oh, thanks for that. Crikey, we could have told you that on our television screens.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm pleased that they gave the goal because it was the right decision, and we were 2-1 up going into halftime. It's worth noting though, Declan Rice with the set piece. Declan Rice's performance, as in the words of Michael Cole, it was vintage Declan Rice, wasn't it? I thought it was
absolutely
brilliant performance out there. Arguably the best player.
Certainly, the first half was, yes.
Yeah, arguably our best player. Maybe that could have gone to Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very pleased.
I'm astonished. I'm astonished you're being so kind to Partey, and I'm pleased to hear that, to be honest.
I have always been a lot more lenient on Thomas Partey as other Arsenal fans have. There was I'll admit this season I was very shaky about him. You may have seen in the Atalanta game, I said when he gave away that penalty, I thought, he might. I think
you said he was done. He was past it.
I think the end is near. I did. I said the end was near for Thomas Partey. But since then, it's almost as if they watched Gooner Gathering. He heard my criticism and thought, right, Posh Bertie's on my case. I need to perform well. And ever since then, he has played very well. But when he was in midfield, he's played very well. And only once, though, when he was at right back, and that was yesterday, he played exceptionally well. Long may that continue, because I think Thomas Partey is a much bigger asset than some fans think, and they're taking him for granted. I'm back to saying that now. So,
it's interesting. That is interesting. I'd say this. I think although he's had a few moments during the season not so good, you've got to bear in mind this guy had so much time on the sidelines last season. I actually think he's done a lot better than some people might realise. So, and credit to him. It takes a lot of character to come back after a big spell of injury and a bit of shaky form, perhaps. He's done well.
Yeah, watch him get injured against Newcastle on Saturday. Let's get through some various comments.
The prophet of doom here, the crikey.
I hope not. I've been very pleased with Partey's performance yesterday. Gunner's Goat says Marino will do a Havertz and score many goals and take people by surprise.
I like what I've seen with him.
With Marino being more of a midfielder than a striker, I don't think he'll score as much goals as Kai did in the latter stages of last season, simply because of different positions. But from what I've seen so far, I've been okay with Marino. I've actually not minded him. I think people are being a bit harsh on him, calling him a flop already. I'm all right with him so far. I think he's done well. What do you think?
So I wasn't ultra familiar with his work, to be honest. I saw him a bit in the Euros, enjoyed what I saw in the Euros. I've enjoyed what I've seen in an Arsenal shirt so far. He's only had a handful of appearances. One was a cameo. It was the Bournemouth game, wasn't it? The other, no, was it the Bournemouth? No, it might have been in the Champions. It was in the Champions League last week when he came on at half time for Benjamin, wasn't it? And we've not seen much of him, obviously, with the shoulder injury. I was really impressed with him yesterday. I enjoyed his work. Certainly, again, I'm all talking about the first half.
Yes.
Unfortunately, something, and I can't put it down to, because I can't put it down to. I can't imagine Mikel saying, "All right, lads, what we're going to do now? We're going to sit back. We're going to pretend we're down to 10 men and go full on defensive block on it." Because I don't actually believe that's the case at all. I think one of the things that happened is maybe some of the injury doubts, some of that got caught up, and some of them, I mean, I'm talking about perhaps Saka, perhaps Timber was feeling a little bit tired, and as a result, we couldn't really get into our flow in the second half. You could argue maybe we should have made subs earlier, because that's probably a point you're going to make, and I'd probably take that, but it might be a case that Liverpool built their socks up, and they actually played very well as well, in all fairness to them.
Yeah, so the second half, we'll get into that now. Whilst I think the definition of a game of two halves for Arsenal was this game. Played very well in the first half. Second half, I think, was a bit of a different story. Now, I'm sure you would say that a big part of that was to do with the fact that Gabriel was down in the box. Not in the box, he was down. And he had to come off injured and was replaced by Kivior. And when I saw that, no Saliba, no Gabriel, I instantly knew what was going to happen. I instantly thought, based on what I've seen in other Arsenal games, yep, it's Pulis time. It's bus parking time for the remainder of the game. And inviting lots of pressure onto Liverpool Football Club. What was going through your minds when Gabriel was injured? Were you thinking that we were screwed, or were you thinking it's bus parking time? What was what are your thoughts on Gabriel's injury?
Firstly, let's hope he's all right, because from what we're reading, certainly I've done a little bit of prep before going on air today, read the post-match press conference saying that basically he couldn't run, and I think he's going to get some scans on his knee. I don't want to get super into medical stuff, but if you've got injuries on your knee, on the joint, that potentially is going to be a very bad situation. Let's say, obviously, Kivior coming on obviously was the best situation at the time, because he's the only sort of centre half that was around. I could see it being a situation where I don't think we started the second half particularly great anyway, because I thought Liverpool probably played in a different gear to us, and I thought, how can they hold on? It did feel like a holding on situation, but then I thought we did have players on the pitch that could have actually got a. What are you grinning at? What are you grinning at?
You know why Kivior and Lewis Skelly came on? ABZ, anyone but Zinny.
Damn.
That's an all-timer, that is.
I'm going to make a note of that, and I'll put that as a short.
There we go.
Look, it's a case of so Gabriel. Big loss. We'll probably get more information on the pre-match for Preston press conference tomorrow. It's a massive worry, and yeah, I did feel that what started as a very difficult second half was only going to get more difficult, and yeah, it proved to be so actually.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it didn't help with Timber going off either. Just going through comments, two from AFC Always. We'll get to your comment about the ref when we get to the last bit of the game. If Arteta was doing the same job as Spurs, then the same top gooners TM will be the first to point out the lack of silverware. But when it's at their own door, they ignore it and are blinded by bias. Well, as I keep saying, the only difference between Arteta and any manager at Tottenham for the last 15 years was that Arteta has won only one trophy, but in 5 years, when you're building a team in the image, we'll get to this.
It does go to sorry, Posh. Sorry. If we're going to go into that sort of direction, it's probably worth just in passing talking about Erik ten Hag as well, isn't it? Because obviously he was shown the door today at Manchester United, and the argument's often been brought to me, and I often get criticised on this channel. I'm very open with it, and I say, look, I am backing Arteta and stuff, and Ten Hag picked up true trophies. He picked up the League Cup and the FA Cup, and unfortunately for United, their season hasn't started well. But then it's one thing picking up trophies in the knockout competitions. Then you look at how they've started in the league, and I think that's 3 wins out of 9. I believe they sit 14th in the Premier League. Would that surprise? I mean, if we'd made that sort of start in the league, Posh, I would be saying, well, it's something here, and maybe a change might have to go. But you're giving me funny looks, mate. Am I coming through all right?
Yeah, because you were. Yeah. So
shall I switch over to my phone? Would that be easier? Shall I switch to my phone if it's that bad?
Okay. What I will say is, so you said that if Arsenal were in Man United's position in the league, you'd say it's time for a change. Okay, so when Arsenal were 15th in the league, losing to teams like Burnley in 2020, you and others wanted Arteta to stay.
Yes, I did in that situation, because that was very much the start of the season. An exceptional case, I think. We're talking about half the team going down with COVID for a start. But if that's where I think we're talking about, yeah.
The one where the season where we were like 15th and losing to Burnley, Aston Villa, Wolves, Tottenham, you name it.
I think I'm about right in where I'm saying, yeah. I did back him. Look, I'm just merely saying that it's one of them things, isn't it? Yeah, I backed him. Of course, I backed him. But then this Ten Hag thing with United, their league form has not been good. It's the same argument with the argument you had with me at the end of last season or the season before, when West Ham have done better than us because they picked up the European thing.
More European credibility than us, almost.
Well, you say that.
The same European credibility as us, I should say.
You say that, but again, picking up trophies is great and everything, but then the caliber of the competitions is the other thing you're going to have to think about. But I will not discredit the fact that both these teams, both West Ham and United, have picked up the trophies, and that's what it's about, ultimately. I get the argument you're saying.
Would you like to switch to your phone now?
Yeah, I think I will if it's easier on you, because this massive delay is not good, is it? So okay, I'll be back. I'll be back after this break.
All right, and I'll read through some comments in the chat. AFC Always says Ten Hag 2 trophies in 3 years. Arteta 1 trophy in 4 years. It'll be 5 soon. Man United sacking Ten Hag. They're moving like a big club. Our owners gave Arteta a new contract for failure. And AFC always says I prefer. Hang on, there you go. I prefer trophies than league positions. George Graham finished 10th in the league, and fans weren't bothered because he won 2 domestic cups. I do think that our fans, especially the fans on, I'd say, your side, AFC always, will probably nowadays have something to say about us being 10th in the league. But I do think, now that Lee's not here, I can say, I do think that we should probably put more of our focus in the domestic cups this season than the league. And I'll tell that to Lee Meadows in a minute, because we are 5 points behind first, behind Man City, and they're going to go on a bit of a run. So it's going to be so challenging now to catch up with them. I think it will be a better situation for us to put all our focus in the domestic competitions and see if we can go for the double, in my view. And when Lee comes back, we'll chat about Liverpool's second goal and the fact that we should have probably made subs earlier in this game. And yeah, it was the in-game management yet again that cost us the game. And like I said, 5 points behind first place. I'm trying to fill for time, waiting for Mr. Meadows to get his phone out and return, and hopefully no technical glitches. Yeah. So, yeah, I also did think, not just in, hello, AFC always, Bertie, AFC always. If Arteta starts Saka against Preston, that should be a sackable offence. Saka should never have started in the last League Cup game. I don't think I wouldn't play Saka. I wouldn't play Saka against Preston. I'd probably carefully consider which type of team I'd put out, especially if I'd said I wanted to focus on cup competitions. But in terms of fitness, I would not play Saka. I think he needs to be managed well, as he's just come back from injury. And I think you are right there. So whilst I said we need to focus on the cups more, I never said start Saka. Hello.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. AFC always says if Arteta starts Saka against Preston, that should be a sackable offence because Saka should never have started in the last League Cup game. I don't think he should be starting against Preston anyway.
No, I don't think he will do, because the fact is that he played 80 minutes after being doubtful with that injury. I would imagine it's more likely to play Gabby Jesus probably or Raheem. I would imagine.
Yes. We'll now talk about Liverpool's equaliser, the second one. I just think I know we had 2 players going off injured, and that was the only reason substitutions were made in Kivior and Lewis Skelly. Personally, I think we should have made changes to our attack. I thought Havertz should have been taken off. Maybe move Trossard up front or something. Potentially,
I would have quiet Trossard. I thought, in fairness to both your points, I do think you do have a very really valid point there, because I don't think either of them had the best of games, in all fairness. But again, how was the service with them because of what we talked about previously? But you're kind of right. I get the point where you're saying, mate.
And I probably, who knows, maybe bring our boy Ethan on, maybe.
Well, he did, didn't he?
He did come on.
He did come on for the last 10 minutes or 10 minutes in injury time, I think. In fairness, he went and took a corner. But let's talk about the Liverpool equalising goal first. If you want to describe it, if you've got the notes.
We were caught napping defensively. And, Mo Salah, quite easy goal to score, and it's 2-2. Terrible defending, don't you think? I don't care that our main two defenders were injured. I think we should have done better.
Yeah, I think we got caught with players up the field. I think it was done on a counter attack, wasn't it? And then, from what I recall of it, I think Kivior went in the wrong sort of position. Nunes had the skill to get into the penalty area, played that ball across to Mo, and as soon as the ball went to Salah, you knew he was going to score. When the ball he received it. There's nothing anyone could have done there. Yeah, so it wasn't the best defending. I'm going to be a little lenient on Lewis Skelly, just a little bit, because he's a young kid who's not really. He's been his first team action. He has been playing at left back. That's not really his natural position. It's kind of an emergency makeshift left back. Doesn't excuse the fact it was poor defending from not just one player, from the whole of the Arsenal back line in that play. And almost the inevitable equaliser did happen there.
Yeah. I know you'll say that we had players injured and everything, but the way we respond to that, the way we respond to those injuries, and the way we play when we can't have our two main centre-backs, or if we go down to 10 men, it is completely unsustainable. And people will say, oh, we've got no choice. But I remember when we had almost a fully fit squad in a game at Old Trafford, and we played rather boringly when we had Odegaard in the team and Saliba and Gabriel. This is a tactical choice. And I've seen plenty of situations where clubs can still play their football when they've had a few injuries, but yet Arteta doesn't want to do it.
I don't think it's a case of Arteta not wanting to do it. I think it's a case of the players on the field couldn't actually transmit what they were trying to do. And again, I mean, I put an argument forward a little while ago when I said about, maybe I'd put Trossard in that role for Odegaard. I don't necessarily think it's worked particularly well, in all fairness. And yeah, there is absolutely an argument for a certain young man we just mentioned a bit ago coming in. But then you can often see it. It happened to Spurs yesterday when they put their big wonder kid on the field. What happened to him? He had a stinker against Crystal Palace, and then people just, you wonder what happened to him now. He gets the big build-up. He had the big picture, didn't he, with the Barcelona players? But then he'll get another opportunity. He might do well.
He'll get another opportunity. He will. And I wouldn't put that defeat from Tottenham on Mickey Moore's fault. That's not
exactly.
I'm
not saying that at all.
And I will say Palace beating Tottenham. It's interesting that Palace won when a certain striker of theirs got dropped, and they're now winning. Interesting.
I feel for him. Because Eddie's gone over there to try and get game time, and unfortunately, it's not been the best start to his career over there, is it?
Him and Rob Holding will end up at Ebbsfleet in a few years' time.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. AFC always says, do you think Declan Rice should have played at centre-back? No, I don't think that. He played in midfield, and he was exceptional.
He would have been a decent, he has played centre half before, but you don't want to just. We'll put him into wrestling terms. I'd say he's a bit like Arne Anderson, who's the enforcer in that midfield, all right? In the midfield, and you don't want to take him out of that situation. Only in an absolute dire emergency would you do that. Decker's to say himself, he's got far more to offer than slotting him into an emergency centre half. Yeah, it's an idea, and I think it's an idea that perhaps Mikel would have thought about when he's even done it occasionally. But when you're against top tight sides like a Liverpool, I think you're taking too much out of a potentially the other way, aren't you? In putting Declan at centre half, it might have worked better. It's all a case of maybes, isn't it? Here, I'm probably with you here. is there a case that perhaps with Gabriel going off, should he? There's maybe I'll throw this at you. It's not necessarily what I think, but maybe this is the argument AFC always is having here. Putting Rice at centre half or putting Jorginho on instead of Kivior, perhaps.
Yeah, if he was going to play Rice at centre back, then you'd have Jorginho replacing his midfield position instead of Kivior, perhaps. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
there's an argument to be had for it, but
I wouldn't have done it in my view.
Yeah.
Right now, it wasn't over. Well, the scoreline was over. It was 2-2, but the action wasn't over because in the last few stages of the game, who was the Liverpool player that Havertz fouled? Oh, I can't remember.
I can't, unfortunately. Bear in mind, I'm coming off a sick bed here, mate. I'm not quite sure. I know the moment you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think this was in stoppage time. There was a situation where arguably it could have been 3-2 to Arsenal. I'm just going to try and find which.
She's going to VAR.
Yeah. So Havertz fouled one of the Liverpool players, and it was was it Salah?
May well have
no,
been.
it was Tsimikas. It was Tsimikas, I think, the substitute.
Okay. Right.
Havertz. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Konate. I don't know why I got them confused. I'm looking at an action replay of it.
It's an easy mistake, mate. Posh, you don't see colour, right?
Havertz fouled Konate.
Yeah.
And it hit almost his elbow. Yeah. He gave the football the people's elbow, if you will.
Yeah.
And because of that, the referee, Anthony Taylor, stopped the match because of the foul and because of the handball. And Gabriel Jesus, whilst the whistle had been blown, did the unprecedented and actually put the ball in the back of the net. However, because the whistle had been blown, the goal was obviously not given. Hello to Hawkwind in the chat who says, Geezer, good to see you.
Pair of geezers.
Yeah. New subscriber here. Don't really want to say your name, but good to see you, Mr. Cheese. Good to see you.
I like a bit of cheese, Gromit. Now I haven't seen the names because I'm on another device and I haven't got ambient access, so I haven't seen the names. So,
all right, I'll say it for entertainment purposes. Dick Cheese. Good to see you, Dick. Richard.
It's my favourite It's my favourite sort of cheese.
There we go. And that's ironic as you're not feeling very good. That's a horrible joke. I need to get banned for that. I'm sorry.
Oh, come back, Posh, please. For once, I'm going to say, please come back.
We will.
Yeah, you want to talk
I don't know your opinion on this. I'm not going to shout you down. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
What did you think of this? Was Anthony Taylor right to blow the whistle after the whole Havertz situation? Or was it a goal? Should it have been 3-2 and the refs are all against us? What do you think?
So I think my ruling is I thought the referee's a little harsh on Havertz. But thank you very much. That's nice to see. Thank you very much. That being said, that whole situation, the whistle was blown well in advance, and as a result of that, I don't think there was a question of it going to VAR and checking on the Jesus thing, because it was quite obviously blown. Because obviously, you can't blow. There was a good gap between that happening and putting the ball in. It's not one of them where you look back like on an offside. It's one of them that it was pretty obvious. I don't want to say all the referees are all against us and everything, because I think the referee called what he saw on the field. I mean, it was maybe a little harsh, but I could understand it. I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a situation that some of our fans are once again blowing out of all proportions. Oh, this is where I've put on my what did I say in my notes? This is where I've put brackets epic rant. Fans need to stop blaming the ref. Look, I'm not going to go on an epic rant, but what I will say is, I say it all the time now, I'm sick and tired of our fans blaming the referee every single time we drop points.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they find an excuse, oh, it's the ref's fault, the refs are against us. If you genuinely believe that every time we play one of the 19 clubs in the Premier League, there's always a referee saying, right, we got to make sure Arsenal lose. No, I think that's a bit silly.
You almost said that in
yards
your
there,
Ange Pochettino voice. Sorry, your Ange voice. You nearly went a bit in the Aussie tang there.
Did I? I can't believe that.
I can't believe it, mate. It's just the way. It's just the way you are.
It is a bit silly that our fans are complaining about one Anthony Taylor.
Yes.
Yes. 1,000 Yard Stare says we were never going to hold on without our wall of defence missing. True.
Yeah,
but
I
think
kind of agree.
We should have done better defensively with the second goal. And yes, you made this point previously, and I was going to get that comment up, but you've done it here again. Anthony Taylor was the ref in the last two FA Cup finals. We've won. He sent off Moses for a second yellow card for diving. It's a conspiracy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
There's a conspiracy going on in the under-21s game right now as well.
Of course there is.
Penalties conceded in injury time. Are you sure? Crikey, conceded right. Blackburn. Two penalties in injury time right now.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay.
But the referees aren't against that. I did not see it, to be fair. We'll leave that in the capable hands of Emerson if he's around.
Yeah. It's never, some of these fans never, they don't want to hold any players accountable or the manager accountable. They always, do you know what? We're always the team. Like a few days before we play, there's always an account that goes, breaking news, Anthony Taylor will be refereeing this game with Stuart Atwell on VAR or something like that. You don't get any club doing that, letting you know who the referee is going to be.
There is accessibility on that over the normal Premier League app and stuff. But yeah, you're right, Posh. You're right. I see that as well. To be honest, I think fans are very protective of their clubs. I would imagine, like we'll refer to United and yesterday's last minute penalty at West Ham, and look what's happened as a result of that. Mr. Ten Hag has lost his job, so people were going to get very very protective of their sides. I know where you're coming from, mate, and it's something I don't necessarily do. I hope I don't hear, and I hope I don't throw fingers wagging at referees. If we didn't have referees, we wouldn't have a game.
Now, I'm not saying that referees have got everything right in our games. I'm not saying that. There have been many times where they've got things wrong. Like, do you remember the Brentford game? The infamous Lee Mason Brentford game and all that?
Forgot to draw the lines.
Yes, absolutely. And there have been times where referees have got things incorrectly in our favour. I always go back to the Bournemouth game last season where we should not have had a penalty, and Bournemouth very unfairly had a goal disallowed. I don't know if you remember that last season at the Emirates back in May.
I think I remember. Yes, I think I do remember.
Yeah, it was the score was 2-1, but it was
Yeah.
back to 2-0 because rather unfairly, I think I can't exactly remember how it went because it was months ago, but I remember saying that was really unfair on Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And that
And that credit to
we
you
got
for
away with
calling
that. Didn't hear any fans complaining there. Oh, they were all silent. Why? Because it was in your favour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
you need to just
You're right.
Yeah.
You are completely right in what you're saying, Posh. And that one, I know. I'm as shocked as you are by me saying that.
AFC always says, in good teams, coaches hold players accountable. In great teams, players hold players accountable. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of our fans, I don't want to say too scared, but they're too reluctant to say, look, I'll admit one of our players was not good today. Well, unless it's unless it's Thomas Partey, they have no problem saying how poor he is. But yeah,
I mean, you it was mentioned, and I think in the comments, and I think you did as well, that Mr. Havertz didn't have the greatest game yesterday. I've had to staunchly defend Kai since day one on this channel, but even I can say absolutely day one-ish. But I even when it comes down to it, when it needs to be said, he had a quiet game. But then the service wasn't into him. So, even in having a poor game, and you can have that. Even the very best in the business can have poor games and have an impact in it. Look, I think I've said this as an example. Yes, I always defend Havertz, and I like him. I genuinely like him because I think he brings a lot. I remember this is the greatest example I can think of when Ian Wright, my absolute idol, playing for Arsenal, never had a kick out of Sheffield Wednesday's Des Walker. If you don't know who Des is, he's one of our possibly most underrated defenders in this country back in the day. And he didn't allow Wrighty a touch in the game until injury time. Wright hit one shot in the game and scored. That's how good Wright was. And yeah, I think Kai, I'm not going to compare him directly to Ian because they're very different players. But when you're a goal scorer, all it would normally take, you could take one effort and then you can score. That's what the best do.
So the game finished 2-2 a Desmond, as they say, 2-2, and I know you are okay. What also frustrated me with our performance in the game is because I think also in the second half as well, I didn't think that Liverpool were as threatening as I thought they were going to be. I expected a much, much more, especially in the first half, much tougher, because you've seen how Liverpool have been performing and where they are in the league. I thought that we could have beaten them. If we
even
we
in
had
the last 10 minutes, I think we could have done.
Yeah, if Arteta if Arteta was a bit more ambitious, made us go out of attack a bit more, I think we could have done it. I think we could have beaten Liverpool. I don't want to say they were there for the taking, but they weren't as. I don't want to say weren't as good because that's very harsh, but they weren't as threatening as I thought they were going to be. Not saying they're a bad team, far from it, but in this game, they weren't as lethal as I thought they'd be.
That's interesting, Posh. That's very interesting. Because I actually thought, obviously the way they looked after the ball in the second half, I thought it was better. They were actually better than us. And I think it takes a lot to switch gears. What
in terms of chances and getting the ball in the back of the net.
I would say when we made them two changes, I think it was Jesus came on and it was Nawari who came on. I think it did make a bit of a difference in how we played. And I won't say I don't believe in what you're saying about if Arteta had made them play a bit more attacking. I don't think he was trying to get them to defend. It might have just been how the players on the field actually performed, because it's sometimes difficult to relate what the manager's trying to say on the field. That's just kind of my view. I don't think he would have. He might have wanted him to be slightly cautious, perhaps, with the slight, a bit like a nice chocolate. We might have had a slightly soft centre. But look, I think I know where you're coming from, but had we got a little bit gung ho, I think we might have been caught again on a break. But ultimately, we ended up 2-2. It's not the worst result in the world. It's not what we were looking for, but I don't think it's the worst result in the world considering where we are. It's not brilliant. I know you're going to say, but we're 5 points behind. Is that what you're going to come to?
I was going to get to this comment from AFC Always and say, look, we've been discussing this in every video about our lack of striker. And yes, it did cost us in this game, in my opinion. But we're not going to talk about our striker issues now because we sound like a broken record. Miss Melina in the chat. Good evening,
Miss
Lee.
Melina, hello.
James Beattie. Yes, I know what you meant, Bertie. No worries, Melina. Good to see you.
It's good to see her. Yeah, no, she's back on YouTube, guys, as well. So I think she's putting out videos on a consistent basis. So if you're not familiar with Miss Melina, give her a subscribe. There's the plug.
Do you want to plug that woman's artwork as well that you mentioned? Not Fran, but the other one.
Ruth. Yeah, Ruth is someone I've followed for quite a bit. You'll see it on our X page. That she has an Etsy store. She does a lot of artwork and stuff. It's been featured very heavily. You know, she's even had a work on Arsenal's Twitter page before. Unfortunately, she's had to shut her Etsy store because of terms and conditions on there. It's quite expensive selling stuff on there, from what I understand. So, if you are a fan of buying any Arsenal work or artwork, check on the post that I quote retweeted, and it'll send you to Ruth, and she's got some great stuff on her Twitter page. So thank you for doing that, Posh. It's very kind.
Melina says, Bertie, you've got to talk about the Arsenal women's too. It would be nice to cover it again. I've got to do it. My knowledge is not as I'm not as knowledgeable as, say, Mr. Meadows is, or people like Matt Roberts or Sam Wilson, who have been part of our channel. But I mean, I could discuss some areas of the women's team, but I'm not an entire expert. But yeah, there will be, I'm sure there'll be a moment in the future where we will discuss women's team. And Melina, we would love to have you on our channel again. I'm sure Lee, you'd agree with me on that. If you want to, if we want to do a video regarding the women's team, we'd more than happily have you on it, Miss Melina.
100%, 100%. The ladies are on the international break at the moment. England 3, Germany 4, wasn't it, the other day? If you weren't familiar with that, at Wembley, and Kate McCabe had an exceptional performance as she captained Republic of Ireland, as I mentioned on one of the videos I did the other day.
Okay. So, last point now. You mentioned, 5 points behind and everything. You said it wasn't the worst result. I understand, but it wasn't the best result because. I think we have a worse number of points than we were last season, but only just. Yeah. I think in all competitions we have won, drawn, and lost the same amount as last season in all competitions.
Right.
We are 4 points behind second, which is Liverpool, and 5 points behind Man City in first. Now, you're going to disagree with me, but I think that the title is not impossible, but unlikely. And because Man City, as AFC always said, where was his comment about Man City? Man City haven't gone into Terminator mode yet.
Right.
They've not, and there will be a point where they will go on an incredible run, and when you're 5 points behind them, it is not going to be easy to catch up with them. And that is why I think this season we will not be winning the league because of these points that we've dropped against Brighton and against Bournemouth and our lack of striker, as I have constantly mentioned. So what I would do if I was Arteta in this situation, I would genuinely put all of my focus into the domestic cup competitions. I know that sounds a bit bigger fish to fry of me, but we have to win silverware this season. He has to. If Arteta has to deliver, because we are going on a trophy drought. Anyone can admit that, and we need to break the streak like Brock Lesnar, and we need to take teams into Suplex City so we can win some trophies. And that, I think we've got a better chance of doing that in the domestic competitions than we do in the league at the moment. I know it's a lottery depending on who we get, but we gotta make sure we perform brilliantly so we can win. And if we don't win the league but win a domestic cup double, that would actually be very good.
Well, you don't want just the one. You're calling for both.
No,
I
think the best case. No, I think the best case scenario. Well, it's a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen. I think we've got to win something. Arteta's got to have something big on his resume now, and there is a possibility.
The MLS Skills Challenge still doesn't count? I don't understand.
Well, that only applies in America, not in England.
Yeah, I'm only playing. I know what you're saying, and I get you. I get you. It says it starts on Wednesday, doesn't it? We've got interesting tie. It's deep though, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see how we get on at Preston. Goodness knows who he's going to pick, because it's like I said, the amount of players that are dropping like flies. I mean, there's the way it goes. I might have to dig out my left back shirt, and I might be playing. That'd be a shock, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Make sure you're a proper left back, not that the I word. But yeah, we got to focus on these cup competitions as well.
Yeah, I do agree to an extent. I'm not writing off our title campaign though, because it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I will say there's potential of another video coming up on the channel tomorrow from our colleague Dom about why he thinks the title challenge is not over. So I don't want to say too much here, but I get your understand. What you're saying about the cup competitions, Bosch. Like I said, with being very, very careful in his team selections, and I don't think he wants to take any risks in terms of the players that were injured and or got through. Like, I wouldn't be playing Saka Wednesday, honestly, because we need him, and we don't want to be overrunning him in another competition. I'd rather have him fresh for the game in the league, which we have to win. Which is Newcastle, isn't it? So
that is our next league game. Yes.
Right.
So I'm not throwing in the towel for our season just yet, because we still have cup competitions to win. We've still got the FA Cup coming up. Arsenal versus Maidstone, third round. Please. And we've got the League Cup, which we're hopefully still in, and hopefully we will still be in this time on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but I don't think we're going to win the Champions League. We could still win the league, but it's an uphill battle. So I personally think, realistically, our chance of a very good season would be if we rekindled the spirit of 1993 and we won both the League Cup and the FA Cup. I would love that. I'd love it.
Love it if we beat them.
Love it if we won the double.
Play Sheffield Wednesday as well.
Although I just hope we don't finish 12th in the league, because I think we'd have something to say. Even you would have something to say about that if that was the case.
I can even feel the headache coming on now.
Let's go through some comments and then we'll wrap things up. AFC says, Lee, the way Arsenal played in that second half was down to Arteta. Are you telling me that the team went so defensive for that second half because they wanted to do it and not what Arteta said at half time.
Yes.
I think I do think that in that second half, what a big part that changed the game was injuries to Gabriel and Timber. But I also think that in terms of the second goal, we still should have done better defensively. And I still think if we just went for it a bit more attack-wise, potentially we could have possibly won the game. I still think that.
I would say the mentality of the players actually would be thinking, when Gabriel went off the field, I think some of them might have been thinking, we're going to have to drop back a little bit. I don't think it's what Arteta would have done, but when you've got your outstanding centre-half that was playing in the game go down, you're not automatically going to go, we're going to have to drop a little bit deeper here. That's what I'm thinking. So, yeah.
Remember the season before last, we were 8 points clear of Man City in March. Now in October, we're 5 points behind Man City. Well, who knows? Man City could be 8 points clear of us soon, and they could bottle it. But I can't see that happening with City.
Who knows? Who knows with City? And they've been a little bit fortunate. No, that's not exactly right, is it? What they've done, their squad is, so you can go in with looking like without a Rodri and without a Kevin De Bruyne, and they've actually done exceptionally well without them. Say that, when you said to me on the chat along the other Saturday that we're playing Bournemouth, and on paper we should be smashing them and all that. Well, they City only beat Southampton. Was it 1-0? So that's how funny the Premier League is sometimes. If you can't put the ball in the net, anything can happen. So I ain't throwing in the towel. I know, you're right what you're saying about your stats as well. I know where you're coming from, AFC. Always. Again, it's always an interesting discussion, isn't it? When when you've got us two on the stream and we've got people in the live chat as well, who obviously have different opinions. I just felt my chair move. I hope I'm not getting too big here. Christ alive.
AFC always says Arteta better start taking these cup competitions seriously. I hope he does. We got to take any competition seriously, even the MLS All-Star Skills Challenge. Take that seriously too.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more on that, Posh.
It's prestigious, like I said, I think I'm not writing our season off, but with the league, it's a different story. AFC always says the excuses need to stop now. 800 million spent, and Arteta has to deliver silverware. I agree. He has to deliver this season.
He can be postman Arteta. He can deliver.
Oh, absolutely. And if he doesn't win any silverware, then he can get a job at the post office for all I care. Anyway,
sending him back to Greendale.
There we go. And his postman Arteta and his chocolate Labrador doesn't have a win. Doesn't
roll off the tongue quite well, does it?
No. Right then, it's time for us to go. Thank you all for being in the chat, and we've got some new subscribers as well. So thank you very much to those two for that. We're on the road to 400 subscribers. Let's get us to that number. That would be amazing.
Smash the like button, like Spike, and all that.
Absolutely. Please, the algorithm. Mr. Meadows, where on earth can they find you apart from a sick bed?
You've read my line. So, yes, of course, you can find me on X at Goonerly and everybody at the channel is at Gooner Gatherings. That's where you'll find the retweet that I mentioned earlier about Ruth and her art, and you'll have any details and next videos coming out over there at Gooner Gathering on X.
And you can find me on X at Posh Bertie. My account's worth a follow, apparently. Instagram at Bertie Wanless. I also run Gooner Gathering's Instagram account, which is at Gooner Gathering, where Even if we're not doing chat-alongs, we still watch Arsenal, so you don't have to. That is it. You can follow everyone else, part of our team here. They're all lovely people. And until next time, guys, love you, bye, and a winner is you.